Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Nothing But Locks podcast. I'm your host, Ali Melnicki, accompanied by Robert Kowalski, my favorite coworker. How you doing today, Robert?
Ali, doing just great. Looking forward to breaking down the next round of wild card games for us to look at.
Yeah, and obviously we have the New York Giants. Can't be more excited for Sunday going up against the Vikings. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Robert, let's just start out with I think everyone is surprised about the teams that made it in the NFC playoffs. I don't think the AFC comes as too big of a surprise. People expected the Bills, expected the Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. Maybe the Jacksonville's a little surprised, but everyone expected Miami. I think if you'd said to everyone at the beginning of the year that you were going to have the Seahawks and the Giants and the Vikings in the playoffs, people might have been scratching their heads at you. So, what do you make of the NFC? Really, we don't see the power horses like the Rams in it. We don't see the Cardinals after they clinched last year, and the Packers, who was the number one seed last year. So, what do you make of the NFC this year?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the one that jumps out the most is like, the mainstay in the NFC that you see every year is the Green Bay Packers. And so with them not being present, even though, well, I mean, look, they've literally had the playoff spot right there in their cup. They just happened to spill it there at the very end. I just feel that I don't know, I kind of enjoy it. I like seeing parity in the league. I like seeing some new, fresh faces. I'm looking at, some of the teams that have always been there. I don't know if, at the start of the year, Ali, if we said that, hey, the Giants are going to make the playoffs this year, if we would have kind of agreed with that. So in a way, I'm kind of happy with how the NFC played itself out for for this coming playoff season.
Yeah, I love parity as well. I don't like seeing the same teams every year. I feel like you get a lot of that in the NBA. We saw Cleveland against the Warriors for I don't know how many years straight. Same thing with the Heat always being in it. So I really like the parity that we have in the NFL. All right, well, let's jump straight into the picks, and we'll start with Saturday's matchup between the Seahawks and the 49ers. This is the third time these two teams will meet all season. The last time they met was on a Thursday night a few weeks ago, and Brock Purdy and the 49ers completely demolished the Seahawks. They covered by, it was a pretty big point spread that they covered by, but we have a matchup again for the third time this year. And Robert, it's always hard to beat a team three times in a year. We said that even last year with the 49ers. They beat the Rams twice in the regular season, lost to them in the postseason. I don't think this is the same case. I don't think that the Seahawks are anywhere near the level that the Rams were last year. And I actually think the 49ers are better this season than they were last year. But before I get into too much analysis, what are the odds for this one?
Yeah, so we found what the ceiling is early in the week as we opened up the game. The Niners 9.5 got up to 10, and finally 10.5 for about 10 minutes or so before coming back down to 10 and now 9.5 again. So the moment it reaches the double-digit point spread, that's where the pushback comes in on Seattle. So Niners 9.5, the total 42.5. Ali.
We talked yesterday about the Buffalo game and how you and I hate laying double digit points. I mean, I hate laying points in general. You and I are both underdog bettors. I love getting points. This one to me, when I saw the high point spread, there was just no way I was going to back Seattle. I had a number in my head that I said, all right, if it gets to this, I'll back Seattle, and it was about 10. But I just can't back Seattle. I think that I think they peaked too early at the beginning of the season. They had a lot of lucky breaks in Seattle when they faced the Chargers when they were missing half of their team. You look at some other teams that they beat. I just think that this is the Niners. This is the Niners game. I don't think it's going to be close. I think that the Niners win by definitely more than a touchdown. I think by 2 touchdowns. So I'm going with San Francisco. How about you, Robert?
Ali, I'm having flashbacks to our national championship race now where you picked Georgia in a route. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Horned Frogs. Horned Frogs. As a matter of fact, Georgia would have to come back and win it late. And so I'm going to do it again. I think that Seattle will keep this game close. I have, obviously, the Niners far superior, in terms of a power rank score that I gave them. But even adding their home field, it doesn't quite add up to the current market price of 9.5. So I'm going to take the points plus 9.5 with Seattle on here. for no more reason other than I see their body of work not only across the season, but over the last 2, 3 weeks, including everything considering with the injuries. I mean, look, San Francisco's looked absolutely stunning, no matter what quarterback is throwing for them. But in this particular instance, I do see Seattle keeping it close, just San Francisco advancing to the next round.
Yeah, and I don't hold anything against people who want to take the Seahawks. It is a high number. But since Brock Purdy took over, Robert, I believe San Francisco's only not covered the spread once. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And that was against the Raiders. It went into overtime. They won. I think there was a lot of different factors why they didn't cover there. Stidham, it was making his first career start. At least first start with the Raiders. I think that they had a lot going. But when I look at these two teams, the only thing that worries me about the Seahawks, it's not Geno Smith, it's not Kenneth Walker, it's not their defense, it's not even their receivers. It's Pete Carroll because he's been here before. He does know how to coach in these situations. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, winning 1. I think that that's an X factor. However, we talked about X factors yesterday. If the X factor for the Niners is taking away the run, and they've been one of the best teams against the run this year. If they hold Kenneth Walker, if they don't let that run game go, that opens up Geno Smith to make multiple errors. And we've seen the last few games, he's been prone to throw interceptions. He wasn't as good down the stretch as he was earlier in the year. I know that some people might think otherwise, but the numbers say it all. What do you think is the X factor for both teams, Robert?
Correct. I didn't want to mention that one. That probably is the Achilles heel. If Seattle does get the run option taken away from them, this could get ugly fast. So I'll put this one on the effectiveness, not of Kenneth Walker, but on Geno Smith. I'm hoping that his magic continues here in an effort to keep the game close. To me, from a point spread perspective, it's all on Geno Smith for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. So what about the total? Are you leaning over or under on this one?
Well, based on how I see the game playing itself out, I think the game goes over the total only because when Seattle's effective, they're in the mid-20s. And if San Francisco is going to win and not cover, it's got to go over the total. So I'll go over 42.5, just based off of the offensive scheme that I think Seattle will have success with.
I think I'm going to go with the over as well, but I think that the Niners definitely still win by double digits. I think that they get close to 30 points. I think Seattle will be good for anywhere from 10 to maybe 17 points. It's 17 being the top. So I'm going to agree with you. I think the over for me, I'm a little more confident in San Francisco covering, but needless to say, I'm still going to back San Francisco. All right, let's move on to the game that I wanted to talk about for years. And that's the Giants playoff game, because I haven't been able to talk about this in about 6, 7 years. So it's been a while. Anyway, what are the odds for the New York Giants taking on the Vikings, Robert?
And here in the rematch, we have the Minnesota Vikings opening as a 2.5 point favorite, got bet up to 3, and that's currently where it's at. Vikings by a field goal and a total of 48.5.
I'm not just saying this as a Giants fan, but I am pretty confident that not only will the Giants cover, but we win this game outright. If you looked at the first game when these two teams faced each other on Christmas Eve, I thought the Giants were the better team. I thought they executed the game plan very well. I think if it were not for some bad special teams play where we got the block punt, you also looked at Richie James, dropped a key 3rd down pass that could have led to a touchdown maybe. You look at, we should have had at least 2 interceptions. One, our defender dropped. The other one got overturned on review, which I still to this day think that it was a turnover. I think the Giants were the better team. I think going up against them again, we are healthier. Saquon has had 2 weeks of rest now because it's been 2 weeks since he's last played. I think he has a bigger game. But most importantly for me, Robert, is the confidence that Daniel Jones is playing with right now. I've never seen him look this confident playing. He looked exactly the part against the Colts. Even the Vikings, you saw shades of it. He led that team that game. And had it been not for one interception, that really wasn't his fault. It was a very good play by Patrick Peterson on defense. He had a near perfect game. So I think that Daniel Jones is going to be the leader. I think he's going to be the quarterback that David Gettleman saw when he drafted him 6th overall. I think Jones steps up and really has a coming out game in the postseason. What do you think?
I am going to go on record and say the Giants win this game outright. I think that if they just look, it's not like Minnesota's not paying attention to the game that they played as well. They know that they won it on a 61-yard field goal at the very end. But for the Giants, clearly what they need to do is to limit their mistakes. Those 2 turnovers, played a big factor in why they lost, despite them picking up 450 yards of total offense or something. The number was some insane number. But definitely going to see a lot more of Saquon Barkley rushing the ball more than the 15 times or so that he carried it. I think Daniel Jones since Christmas Eve has developed even further, which is kind of weird. Thinking, how much more can a quarterback develop in just 1 month? But I do see that happening. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that if you realize that it was T.J. Hawkinson that beat you a month ago, and then you go ahead and ensure that you don't get him open out in the flats, well, guess what? Now you've got the greatest wide receiver possibly in the game in Justin Jefferson. So they've got a lot of work cut out for them here in the rematch here back in Minnesota. I feel that they do have all of the check marks in place and that they do have everything that they need to come up with a victory here and advance out of the wild card round. New York Giants on the money line.
How do you think they approach this game defensively? Because I remember after that game, Wink Martindale got a lot of criticism. We know that Wink loves to blitz, and I love when I see defensive blitz. It's one of my favorite things to see when I watch football. But people criticize Martindale because they thought he blitzed too much, especially in that last drive. It allowed Justin Jefferson to get open for those 2 big passes. Do you think that they take the same approach, or do you think they make some adjustments in this game?
No, get what to keep playing the way you have. You can't change that now, especially since you made it into the playoffs. The problem is, it's just like you said, the more you blitz, the more you're going to leave a massive target like Hawkinson open. It's just you have to pick your spots, and if you're going to go out and blitz, just make sure you get home. That's all I can say. I really don't think from my perspective, there's, obviously I've got 3 very huge games that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on, but nothing more important, in the 1:40 Pacific time slot than to keep my eyes on the in-game for the Vikings and Giants.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the Vikings real quick, because we could dissect the Giants all day. But what do the Vikings need to do differently against the Giants? Because I said the Giants made a few mistakes that game that I think could have turned the tides around had they not made those mistakes. But what do the Vikings need to do if they want to win?
Nothing different, Allie. The game plan that they had in place, sure, it took a miracle field goal to win the game, but they were fantastic with 0 turnovers. I think they only had 2 penalties, so that was great. You really can't complain too much about them not picking up 100 rushing yards or more, because they made up for it, with picking up 3rd downs off of pass plays. They played a really fantastic, efficient game, and that's why they won. Picking up 17 points in the 4th quarter, certainly did help. And that came from their defense coming up with a couple of opportune turnovers. But I honestly think they don't need to do anything different. It's the Giants, and the onus is definitely on them to make sure that they don't turn the ball over. If that happens, then that leads to more ball control. And obviously, and I know we just said we wanted to talk about the Vikings, but here I am realizing the Vikings played a perfect home game, and they did everything they need to win. It's all on the Giants and keeping them off of that turnover sheet.
I think that what scares me actually about the Vikings is if the Giants are able to isolate Justin Jefferson, if they devise a game plan where they do limit him, and maybe even Hawkinson. Adam Thielen has been quiet all season. This oddly feels like a game where he could just emerge and get 8-9 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown. Would you be a little concerned about Thielen, Robert?
Yeah, I wonder what happened to Adam Thielen. I think it's just a matter of, players just simply not getting the targets. I mean, look, Jeffrey, I mean, what's a good game, from a target's perspective? Like 10, 8, right? In the game against the Giants, he got 5 targets, right? And Dalvin Cook got 4, from the backfield. It was 16 targets to Hawkinson, 16 to Justin Jefferson. That's going to be the game plan, and I don't think it's going to veer very much at all away from that. Thielen had, a couple of fantastic seasons, but I think at this point, at his age, I think right now he's the third option, if not fourth, if Dalvin Cook is out on the field.
Yeah. What about Kirk Cousins? Because we all know Kirk Cousins struggles on prime time and in big games. I believe he did finally get a playoff win a few seasons ago when I think they beat the Saints. Kyle Rudolph had the game-winning touchdown. But what do you think about Kirk Cousins? Are we going to see the Kirk Cousins that struggles in big games, or are we going to see the Kirk Cousins this year that has looked confident at times?
Yeah, we darn well can. You're absolutely right. It's not like, I mean, look, the numbers are so different right now because it's so quarterback centric. And if you look at his total yards that he's thrown for the year, I mean, look, he's top 5 in yards. He's thrown 29 touchdowns, but he is quite interception prone. Again, I think you make a great point with Martindale's, blitzing tactics. We continue to throw the blitz at him. Who knows? Maybe we see a replay of what the Lions did to Aaron Rodgers Sunday night. Blitz him so hard that he has no time, to throw, anything accurate. He lets one loose that he shouldn't have, and now all of a sudden you're looking at a possible pick 6. So you're right. Keep the blitzes coming, but at the same time, if you're going to do it, good Lord, get home. Kirk Cousins definitely is more than likely to cough the ball up. And, if we can get him to turn the ball over on an interception, that's going to turn the game quite heavily. So, an efficient quarterback, definitely during the game against the Giants. But I definitely think that we can find a way to get him to cough the ball up at least once.
I think that if you get Kirk Cousins rattled early, he's going to stay rattled the whole game. That's why, Robert, in the Vikings, all their losses, they were all blowouts against the Cowboys, against the Packers, against the Eagles, because if he struggles from the beginning, he doesn't recover from that. So I think the key is that first sequence, you need to get him, you need to bring the blitz, you need to get him uncomfortable in the pocket, you need to have him make errant throws. And I think that's the key on defense, if you really want to rattle Kirk Cousins. Well, Robert and I are both taking our Giants to pull off the upset. What about the over-under, Robert? Are you leaning over with this one or under?
Well, so if I look at them both in the mid-20s, with the game going in the Giants' favor, Allie, this number is dead set perfect. I can't lean up or down right now because I both have them right around the 21-24, 24-27 score like on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean over with that one too. I think there are going to be a lot of points scored. Neither defense is particularly impressive, so I'm going to go with the over as well. But we will talk definitely more about this on Monday. I am hoping for a Giants victory and a game next week, so we will see. All right, let's move to the final game of the weekend, Robert, and that one's on Monday. We have the Cowboys and the Bucks. What are the odds for this one?
So, as I expected, Dallas on the road was going to be a favorite, and it's set perfect. It's set at 2.5. The total is now 45.5. Obviously, this game goes to 3. We're going to get an avalanche of Tampa money. So this 2.5 is probably locked in until kickoff on Monday night.
Yeah, and in this one, it's probably my favorite pick of the week. I am taking Tampa Bay to not only cover, but to win outright. I've been saying it for weeks. If the Cowboys face the Bucks in round 1, the Bucks are going to win. This is a different Tampa Bay team than one that has struggled all year. Robert, you've mentioned several times they're getting healthier. The offensive line is getting healthier. And Tom Brady in the postseason is a different Tom Brady than in the regular season. The Cowboys, I don't know how they had the record that they are. They were helped very much by Cooper Rush when Dak was down. I believe he went 3-1 while Dak was out. But Robert, how have they been winning these games? Dak Prescott leads the league in interceptions, and he's played four less games than every other starting quarterback. I think that the Cowboys are. I think this is the wrong spread. I think that the Bucks should be favored. I think that too many people think the Bucks are terrible, which they're not particularly good. They wouldn't be in the playoffs had they not been in that division. But you throw away the regular season aside, you start anew. Postseason, I'm 100% on the Bucks. How about you?
For the fear of sounding very similar to what you just said, I'm going to echo all of it. I do think that Tampa should be the favorite here. Not a giant favorite, but I do feel that Tampa's definitely the team here that's going to be victorious in their wild card game against Dallas on Monday night. Healthier for certain, more sound. I mean, by the way, so we discussed Dak Prescott and Dallas and their ability to put up points, when necessary, and obviously, they've certainly done that. But I mean, what happens? I don't know. Like honestly, if we take a look at what happened with Dallas down the stretch, um, I feel like there's clear that they've got success, because you could just see their record 12-5, second in the NFCs. That's that's we know that. But really, is this how you're going to end the regular season at Washington? Putting up 6 points and losing, I get it. The game didn't matter, but that's the tune-up, for a game, going into Tampa, who's,
Yeah.
super, super live. It's not the right feel and definitely not the tempo that I expected Dallas to have going into their playoff game.
Yeah, I agree with you. What if Dallas does end up losing, Robert? That'll be 2 years in a row that they were favored in the first round and then lost. Is Mike McCarthy's job at risk if they lose?
No, I don't know if that's the case. I do think that we need to take a good long look at Dak Prescott as a quarterback. 15 interceptions, this isn't something that's new. He's just, you know, interception prone. And by the way, that's 15 interceptions with not the full slate of NFL games. We all know that as well. So his propensity to throw picks is right up there. Honestly, if you found a player prop that said Prescott over under one and rather a half 0.5 interceptions, I'd have to press that over button, several times. Can you imagine like
Yeah.
Tom Brady, like the season that he had, forget about professionally, like on a personal level, and for him to throw almost 4,700 yards with 25 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, Ali, in this kind of an environment, like honestly, if he played behind the Eagles' offensive line, like he'd play forever. I mean, he's playing forever right now, right? It's just what kind of a season would he have behind the Eagles'
Right.
offensive line, right? So this one definitely leans towards Tampa, and I really feel that they're going to have great success on Monday night.
I agree with you. And we will talk more about the game on Monday. We're going to do a recap in the morning, but we'll also foreshadow this game more. All right, let's move on to our buy or sell segment for the NFC. Robert, are you ready for this one?
Always, I love it.
All right, buy or sell. The Eagles will not win a playoff game.
Oh my God, the way they ended the season, what has happened? I mean, look, I get Hurts. He missed the time, and I don't know what that's going to do to keep him in sync or out of sync. Then to play in a game where the Giants absolutely, you knew they were going to rest, and they turned it into an absolute slugfest there at the end, and wondered if maybe the Eagles aren't going to get the number one seed. I am not win a playoff game. I am that took way too long and I was way too silent. So I'm just you almost got me, Ali. You almost did. I will sell not winning a playoff game. I feel that they will get one, but I at this point, for lack of keeping things fresh, I do feel like we are going to see them eliminated. certainly by the time they get to the NFC Championship.
So I'm mixed on this one because if the weekend plays out like you and I suspect it will, then Tampa will play the 49ers in the division round. And then our New York Giants will play the Eagles in the division round. That's the third time we will face the Eagles this year. I mentioned, Robert, at the beginning when we were talking about Seattle and the 49ers, how hard it is to beat a team 3 times a year. Can the Eagles do it to the Giants? If the Giants are playing at an all-time high with their confidence, I've just seen crazier things happen. We beat Brett Favre in that historic cold game with Eli Manning. I just seen crazier things with my team when it comes to the postseason. So I'm going to actually buy this one. And even if they don't play the Giants next week, I don't think they beat the 49ers. I don't think they beat the Bucks. So I'm going to buy the Eagles will not win a playoff game this postseason.
Love it.
All right, next one, and we kind of foreshadowed this before, but buy or sell, Robert. Mike McCarthy will coach his last game as a Cowboy this weekend.
I Tampa gets the win, but if it's like the way they started, so if they this would be almost impossible, but if they find a way to replay week one's drubbing against the Cowboys, boy, it'd be really difficult for Dallas to say, you know what, let's run this back again with Mike McCarthy. But does that happen? That's a real stretch. Okay, I like buying when I go to your store, and then you got me selling twice in a row, Ali. So I'm gonna sell. I think that I think that we're going to see Mike McCarthy, and obviously, if I just read between the line of your purchase here, last game as a Cowboy this weekend, right? So I'm assuming, like we both said, we got Tampa winning, so this is the end of their season. Somehow I see Mike McCarthy coming back next year.
I'm going to buy because there's a chance if the Cowboys have an epic loss like they did last year against the Niners, where they just totally botched having Dak Prescott run on third down when there was no timeouts and everything, that's going to come onto the coach. But also, if I'm Jerry Jones and I'm looking at my bright offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, and he's going to be a hot target for the open coaching vacancies, do I fire McCarthy and promote Kellen Moore to keep him on staff? Yeah, I think I do. So I'm going to actually buy this one.
Great point. Great point. Yes.
All right. Next one, Robert. Buy or sell? Dak Prescott will lead all quarterbacks in interceptions this postseason and will still only have played 1 game.
I think I just wanted to put up. I put the prop of 0.5 interceptions and then push the over button. So does he throw 2 or more? And then, wow, that's a good one. Sell. I'm selling it. Someone's gonna cough it up worse.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell too. Although I think he's definitely gonna have multiple interceptions against the Bucks. There's gonna be a quarterback that plays 3 or 4 games. That's just gonna probably have a few more. So I will sell as well. All right, next one, Robert. Buy or sell? One starter from Wild Card Weekend will not be the quarterback starter for his current team next season.
I am buying that. I am definitely buying that. I am looking straight at you, Baltimore, and I'm definitely looking straight at you, Miami. Wow. I'm even looking at Dallas and Tampa. 100% buying that.
100% buying it. I think that you maybe even look at Seattle. Who knows what Geno Smith is going to come back? We'll see. It's going to be interesting. So buying 100%. All right, last one, Robert. Here's the big one. Buy or sell? Tom Brady will reach the Super Bowl this season again.
Oh God, why did I go so pie in the sky? Yes, I'm doing it. I'm buying. Tom Brady's back in with the Buccaneers. What have I done? Buy.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I'm still going to ride my 49ers, though it will be an interesting matchup if the Niners do play the Bucks next week. I would be a little scared, I think, the Niners facing the Bucks, because I think Tom Brady just turns it on in the postseason. So I will sell this one.
32-1, folks. 32-1. Get your futures today.
We have to bookmark this episode every time you say that too. It could definitely be. All right. Well, before we sign off on the show for today, Robert, let's go with our final predictions. Who do you have in the NFC, the conference championship matchup, and the NFC Super Bowl team?
Okay, so since I just went off the rails and I just said that Tom Brady's back into the Super Bowl, we'll have Tampa playing San Francisco, and then there's your participant. It's going to be Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What have I done?
I'm gonna go Niners win it all, but the NFC Championship game, and I'll admit half of this is my bias, but half I actually think it could happen. But the Niners and the Giants in the NFC Championship game. Giants beat the Vikings this weekend. They upset the Eagles next weekend and find themselves in the conference championship. Wow, would I be happy if that happened?
So would I.
All right, Robert, before we sign off for today, I want to thank you again for joining. And Robert and I will be back on Monday, like we said, to recap all the games from this weekend and get a little more in depth with the Cowboys and the Bucks. But any last words or thoughts for the audience?
Yes, we are. I'm just, everything comes in waves here at the sports book, and just from a betting perspective, with all the college bowl games now in the rear view mirror, and obviously with football playoffs taking front and center for the next month, literally for the next month, we're going to have as much content for you here as possible. Find us, of course, on Twitter at Nothing But Locks. You can find me on Twitter at Robert Kowalski, and I'm obviously going to have as much content that I could join in with as possible, so that we could get some tidbits and take a look and see how these injuries are going to continue to play themselves out going forward into the playoffs and beyond.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Keep up to date with us. Robert and I will have all your NFL needs. It's going to be a wild month. I'm really excited for it. I can't wait. I'm glad we get 3 days of football this weekend. It seems like forever that we've had football with no Thursday night game tonight. So everyone, I want to wish you all a great weekend and take care.